All right, game number one already starting off here for the TING North American group. This is, of course, the first North American group. Took place a little bit later than the others on account of the fact that qualifiers had some small hiccups, but we are now officially in the swing of things. It is worth noting, we're not going to get a lot of sleep tonight, I imagine, because we'll be waking up bright and early for the Korean groups tomorrow, which, oh man, SOS and Keen and Patience and Sulky. I'm already drooling. But the players tonight aren't too bad either. Spawning here on the upper right side of the map, he's a little less known than the other three, but again, is the one who qualified and made it through the qualifiers and earned his spot. It's going to be Voltz.
The bottom left as the red Zerg, he is Cham.
Having a little bit of a flashback question here. This isn't the same person as Televoltz, is it?
I remember we did ask that. I didn't think he was, but maybe I was corrected.
Well, if we have any extreme Voltz fans in the audience, hopefully they'll let us know.
Yeah.
Now, before we get too much of what ZvZ is, it is worth noting ZvZ is not always going to be Roach Ravager versus Roach Ravager. It's not always going to be Ling versus Bane. We've in fact been seeing the sort of rise of people reach for the mutas, or maybe that's just my mistake casting so much Bly, but it'll be interesting to see which styles get chosen, because Cham, for those who don't know, when I said he was invited on merits, I mean, this guy, he knocked pulled out of a tournament like 3-0 not too long ago or something like that. Generally speaking, he's been performing well on the ladder and ladder heroes and all of basically everything he can get his hands on in North America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the rise of mutas is perfectly fine to say. I mean, I think they've been on the rise for a long time. That might be the misnomer or whatever, but they're super annoying, and they can be that little trick that wins you the game. And I don't know that much about Cham. I'm sure if Fear Dragon were here, he would tell us all about him. We just know that, well, we invited him because I think everyone said that poll, right?
Right, it was the poll. Saw a small hiccup there, too?
Yeah.
Okay, not
Yeah,
just
I
me.
did, okay.
But yeah, so we had a poll up, and we had chosen 3 players from that poll, and there's a lot of debate that was spurred off of, like, the players we chose. Juggernaut, Jason, I think it was Bales, and, Ruff, and Cham. And a lot of it was because we knew any 3 of those guys would have given us interesting games. Oh dear, I was playing co-op. Sorry, 1 sec. Let me turn that off. Mouse scrolling is the most irritating thing if you're an observer. But it's very necessary if you're playing the damn game. But anyways, yeah, so Cham got voted in, and it wasn't a cinch either. It was actually pretty close towards the end of it. Yeah. But either way, we already know from his results to give us good games. But it's funny you bring that up with Fear Dragon too, because I as well have not had the pleasure of casting much Cham. We've cast, I think, like 1 best of him in the last, like, several months. And then he didn't stand out too much to us. But then we see results everywhere else, so you can't argue with results.
Yeah. He did very well in our qualifiers. Another reason why it's totally fine to bring him back. I mean, he just, didn't quite get the final qualifying spot, but he got to, like, the quarters, both, I think.
Let me ask you then, before we get too far into tonight, who do you see coming out in first place in the group, and who's your maybe for second?
First place is Neeb, second place is Major.
See,
easy choices.
That's where I'm on the fence about this. I agree, Neeb first place. There's, like, no doubt in my mind about it. But I'm thinking, depending on how things go, Cham versus Major in the finals, I could actually see Cham taking Major on. But that's more on Major's, we'll say, recent follies than Cham's recent success.
Yeah.
Major just isn't the same Terran he was in HOTS.
Well, yeah, that's certainly true. I mean, I guess this is where we could talk about Copa America, maybe, if we were casting to it, or honestly, if I just paid any attention to it, but unfortunately,
well, see,
not
even
so.
Then, it's hard for me to consider Major, like, doing amazing, because that's big fish in small pond. There's not a lot of competition in Copa America. Cham being one, I guess, but...
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, but Cham is in there. The point is, like, I imagine Major's still, like, winning left and right in the Copa America, but I actually have no idea if Cham's, like, actually, like, usurped him or whatever. Well, anyway, we do have mutas. Actually, this game is already getting a little more interesting. Mutas versus roaches. Volt's gonna have to try and hit Cham before those mutas are out.
I want to go back on that last point, though. Just thinking on some clever way to make a shitty remark about 8 armor ultralisks. Yet I can't. So I'm just going to state there, Cham will have 8 armor ultralisks, and Major is playing Terran.
Okay, well, this is where all the Zergs would be like, well, they have ghosts and widow mines and tank drops, anyway.
Actually, That's a point to be made. I totally forgot. Today the patch went live, and Cyclones have had their cooldown fixed from 9 seconds to 4 seconds.
Yeah, that's gonna...
It's kind of a big deal, actually. I'm curious if Major will be adapting and changing over. I guess we'll leave that for when we get to it. Anyways, Ling attack does commence here for Cham, but nice wall up on the ramp out of Voltz. Intentional or not, 2 queens are there. Lots of Bailings morphing in. He should be able to handle this, and he doesn't pull the roaches back. The continued bailing on Ling comes across the map. He's waddling and waddling. That's a lot of spine callers, and that's a lot of queens trying to buy time for these mutas.
This is usually not the case. Usually you do have them trying to defend the third base, so it's going to be interesting seeing Voltz have to go up a ramp against already made spine crawlers. Actually, just exploding onto the queens, okay, they won't have transfuses with the spines, but they won't have Bailings with the spines either.
No, Bailings are really getting through this is kind of the key thing I'm looking at. While the roaches might go through, the mutas will clean them up, and roaches, well, they will kill drones, will not nearly be as dangerous as 2 Bailings making it to that mineral line.
Yeah. And the Ling counterattack has finally been cleaned up.
Did kill the third, though.
Yeah, it killed the third. Surprisingly, not so many drones.
Oh, is he going to get that Spire? Was the transfuse, baby? There we go. Keeps it alive just a little bit longer.
Well, yeah, that's it, though.
Even then, he already got most of the mutas I think he needed out for this. So losing that Spire is going to suck, and he does barely lose that at the end, but he's already got, what, 12 something in play? Sorry, excuse me, 10.
It's actually a very interesting game. Voltz losing the third base makes it, I think, more interesting because that's actually pretty key. But he has so many more drones. Cham now can't start to snowball as much without the Spire being planted back down. And the game's not going to end like it usually does after an attack like that. Usually someone has one or the snowball effect starts to get real.
Voltz also, by the way, has placed 2 Spore Crawlers down per base. I actually like this quite a bit. One muta goes down, that kind of sucks, but this severely limits the amount of harass mutas can do. They can definitely catch drones transferring and things on the edges like the extractor, but there's no simply diving into that mineral line, not anytime soon at least. So while this goes on, by the way, Cham not replanting down the Spire, decides to transition out and into mutas. Or sorry, hydras.
Ooh, directly into hydras, that's weird. Also getting an Overlord drop here, that's interesting, because I think Ling run bys would also be fine enough. Oh, he's gonna go to the gold of the drone!
Well, that's gonna be cute. The hydras actually, I think, are gonna take it one step further and head towards lurkers, is what I imagine after seeing all those roaches.
Yeah, I think that's gotta be the situation. Like, just pure Hydra, there's no reason if you're the one going for mutas. But the lurker den just seems so... It is like eating your dessert before your dinner, and you can't get as many lurkers as you can Voltz getting roaches.
But that's the thing, the mutas are like the veggies. You threw them off the plate, now they're all over the place, and Voltz has to clean them up, so he's not really looking at the dessert. So Cham's gonna snake that cake and have 2 desserts. Yum, 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 yum.
Maybe. I mean, Voltz doesn't know what Cham is doing. You know, it's around that time where he probably knows that it's not going to be more mutas, otherwise he would have already seen more, but you still don't know if they're going for roaches or lurkers, or their own hive, even. So
that's what I like about this, though, for the lurker choice aspect, I mean. There's going to be ultras out, ideally, and that's where lurkers are really going to be great. A lot of people just undervalue just how much damage they deal, but it's not going to be lurkers alone that will stop ultras. They'll need a little bit extra. I like the fact that, you know, the spine cores from earlier live, so there'll be some city. If he takes a defensive fight and counters, that might be his best case scenario. One of the big things for Cham is he has policed the map and seen, like, okay, there's no overlords, there's no 4th or 5th. Like, he's got a pretty good idea on, like, where Voltz is at economically, just not tech-wise.
If Voltz had any Hydras or a Nidus Worm, I really think he could have pushed and done some serious damage.
I think this is so cool. I love this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really cool move. I love that it's the muta player doing this too, because obviously if the roles were reversed, Voltz wouldn't be getting that down very safely at all. But even without Voltz taking advantage of his 40-50 army supply lead right here, because the lurkers still aren't on the way, they're going to take a long time to finish. He still has that hive tech, and yeah, lurkers can be good against ultras. Oh, he's going for vipers. See, I don't know about that. I don't know. Like, it's very obvious that he's not going for a lot more mutas. Otherwise, the muta count would have already gone to like 20 or 30. So the vipers seem kind of unnecessary.
Well, I actually have a bit of logic for that. Whether it's roaches or ravagers or hydras on the ground, blind cloud actually won't be too terrible of a tool to have. But I do agree that I think he might be a little bit more worried about this being more mutas than there are. In fact, he gets a fungal on the few mutas there are in play. Queen's going to pick them off. Not enough fungus to completely lock this down, but some pretty good pickoffs. And also noticing, once more, this isn't, 40 or 50 mutas. This is kind of the bare minimum.
Yeah. Does he have any idea about the lurkers? I mean, no, he still hasn't seen the Hydralisk Den or the lurker den, or, of course, the rest of the army. A couple of lurkers are now advancing, and now he'll see the lurker spines going on to his 4th base, and that's his first indication of it. So the Vipers can now be used to abduct, actually, and that would be pretty good.
By the way, did you see the Carbot mod version of the lurker?
I did, yes.
Its attack looks so much
better.
cooler.
Yeah, I agree. He was
Even though
talking
it's
about how like, he thinks
cartoony.
it might be too big, but it's a lot more impactful, and I definitely agree with him.
I thought it was better. I almost wish they would take a note from that book, but anyways, abducts are going to go off and burrows the lurkers, which is certainly annoying, and
this
so
is
net him some kills.
I mean, blinding clouds are also always very helpful, but I think the abducts right here were absolutely perfect. Now he's got just a Roach Queen army against Cham's eventual only Hydra army, because really with abducts, tearing those lurkers out can be pretty easy. Still surprised Voltz hasn't tried going into ultras. I guess he doesn't have a lot of gas for it, but I still think like as he gets his 4th base up, that it might be a really good move, especially against like what is going to be a mostly Hydralisk force. And it's really not just lurkers that tear down the ultras. Like we gotta have like SimCity, other units that help kind of mess their AI up and take their shots for them, and then they look pretty good. But this is a lot of harassment on that base.
These poor queens trying so badly to keep us alive. And ultimately for Voltz, of course, I think he knows he needs it. He knows, I believe he saw the 4th. No, he still hasn't seen the 4th of Cham, but really, this is the 4th of Cham, so this is the 5th of Cham.
Yeah. Thanks to Geist for donating $5, by the way.
Oh, a cast that started after I got out of work. What a pleasant surprise, he says.
Yeah,
well, I'm glad that you were pleasantly surprised, sir.
Well, Voltz sees an opportunity here, and he might have just lost his 4th base, but he still has a bigger bank than Cham on 5 bases with the gold. And a lot of that is because his army just isn't as expensive. He absolutely just runs over it. The lurker count would have had to be extreme to help out just pure Hydra, and it really wasn't.
Just minor additional notes, like those blinding clouds worked out fantastically.
Yeah.
Just those Hydras couldn't really do much. By the time they got in range to fight, it was already over.
The Vipers ended up being a perfectly fine choice. I was just really worried he was focusing too much on the mutas. Apparently not. He didn't go for like his own Hydras, for instance, and that would have been like the real like, oh, he's only worried about one thing than the other. He just stayed on his queens, Roach, Ravager, Viper, and it worked out really well. Yeah, he could have added ultras, probably really just stomped over that army, but this was good enough. And Cham, I mean, it's not surprising to see a muta player go into lurkers. It's surprising to see a muta player go into pure Hydra.
Well, it was, for me, the most surprising part of the game was the intentional 2-base aspect. That feels so much more HOTS than anything else. But more importantly, like, he defended that early attack so well. I thought for sure bouncing back off of it wouldn't be a problem, especially with the hidden gold base.
Yeah, the hidden gold base, I mean, I guess like I said, it was a very expensive army he was trying to get. So I guess it really didn't add up to just how cheap
hold the phone to the zombie grub. These lurkers start doing work at the top of this ramp. A small amount of Hydras trying to pick off the overseers, but with the Vipers also having been focused down, there was no abducts, and I think Voltz was a little surprised by that. Let's not forget, as terrible a situation as this is, Cham has upgrades on his side and an extra base. Voltz right now thinks he's on the ropes and he's got no mining left. The main and naturals must be mining out soon, and they are, but there's still this gold keeping him afloat for a little bit longer. Those lurkers also killed such a significant amount of army supply. I can't say that Cham's going to win this game from his position, but he's actually still got a fighting chance.
Well, he's certainly turtling up, and now Voltz is going to get his own Hydralisk Den.
Oh no! Oh no! These roaches like walked over these in the worst possible way. A good chunk of them dies and goes from 101 supply to 86.
He's getting his Hydralisk Den, but he's also getting his Ultralisk Cavern. And again, like, this is just a similar situation where it might not be overwhelming roach numbers, but Ultralisk will kind of do the same thing. And you have to have a supreme number of lurkers to really stop them from just rolling over your army, getting to said lurkers, and actually killing them. And Cham is trying to get once again up to like a really good lurker army. He's, went back up to, what is this, 9? 9's actually pretty good, but I imagine more like 15 and spine crawlers. Because Voltz, he had a bank. He just used it on for ultras and plating. But now he's got his mining back up. He's not in a bad spot either, mining. And I still give it to him, but Cham has an opportunity after defending on that ramp. His gold, by the way, is also starting to mine out along with his man and natural. Just the way golds go.
Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting, too, going back to the Ultras topic for just a moment. Chitinous plating aside, Hydras are going to be really interesting to see. It's actually Roaches that tend to be a little bit better for the hit and run on Ultras, just because they actually hit so hard. They can actually kind of pierce through that armor a bit. But that's where hopefully and ideally the Lurkers would get those hits. 36 a shot. That's coming up against a unit with 500 health. It's not going to be easy to tear through them.
Really wish Voltz had just taken the other base. You know, at the very least, the Lurkers would just have, you know... They would have been concaved on, even if they did try and attack that.
It's exactly what I was thinking during the first engagement.
Yeah.
Back home, more Lurkers. A couple Spine Crawlers coming down, but he's going to need those for Sim City. That fourth base that he needs so badly is going to get shut down. He did get his third back up and running, but no cancel, no cancel. Bloody mess. Lots of Ravagers coming in. Ravagers will be a really interesting aspect of this.
Cham isn't retreating. No. He's moving forward. Vipers are back in play.
He's moving forward in a backwards position.
Blinding Clouds could go down on the Hydras or the Lurkers, and Abduct's going on the Lurkers.
Oh.
It's kind of the wombo I was thinking of.
TIL, Blinding Cloud doesn't actually affect Lurkers on Ultras. Or that was just a delayed attack, I'm not sure which.
I'm pretty sure it does.
I thought it did too, but they definitely fired at the Ultras, so...
Huh.
Yeah, it looks like it's just the ones on the edge of the cloud is what it is. Okay.
Okay.
So GG is gonna have to probably get thrown down here with no fourth base, the entire army demolished, and... Well, Voltz did accomplish, or sorry, Cham did accomplish killing Voltz's base. It's not enough to stop him, man. And the hidden base is definitely, these have like 400, 600 minerals left. Not enough, not a lot. I'll give it to Voltz, though, man. I didn't expect him to come out of the gate swinging so damn hard, but he certainly did.
Yeah, Voltz looked quite strong. Cham made some very, I guess, just curious choices. Again, going over his pure Hydra Lurker composition. It doesn't seem to have much like backbone in it, but he had really cool ideas too. Like that gold base was really cool. I think maybe the Spire going down really messed him up. Like he might have been planning on going mass muta and had to swap intentions on the fly. And that can mess a player up for sure. But that's gonna be it. Hydra's not being able to take down everything here. Ultra's actually still alive even. GG!
GG. Cham may have been in a little bit of shock and awe. I know I certainly am. Voltz, for those who don't know, I've got no disrespect for this player. Again, he earned his spot, so he has our respect up to that point. But it shocks me because, again, he's the player everyone I know kind of threw out the group. They said, I can't believe Voltz qualified. It must have been a shitty qualifier. It's dumb things like that. So, really, good for him to win this first game. We'll see if he can keep that momentum rolling. He says he needs a moment, though, so, well, normally I don't try and do an ad break on the first game. We're going to do an ad break because he's got to do stuff. So... We'll be back in a minute or two. All right, folks, welcome back. Game number 2, currently underway in the very first best of 5 today. To fully explain that abrupt break, Voltz said quite literally he needed to cool off after that game. I imagine that was a very intense game 1 for him. But, of course, still plenty to go. In the bottom right side, looking for a bit of revenge, it's going to be the Blue Zerg player, Cham.
The top left now is the Red Zerg player. He's Voltz.
And a big thank you and shout out to DJ Chris Spear. This guy's been with us for longer than this, but he's been subbed for 26 months.
Long time.
Oh my, a drone scout. This is
unorthodox. I want to say Cham was doing that in the qualifier. I know one Zerg was, and I was just mentioning that like it's kind of, you know, unnecessary and
it's like Zerg taboo. Don't do it.
Yeah, basically like the head council of the Zerg got together and all agreed that you shouldn't do it. And then I brought up, unless you know the player is very likely, and in some cases that can be worth it, especially if they're like really all-in-ing, it can be worth it for, you know, putting your pool down instead of your hatchery. But you can also just try and play less greedy and still hold, because at this point we've seen all types of all-ins be held by all types of builds. Hatch first, hatch gas first, if you get a little lucky, pool first obviously. Hell, we even saw a 3-hatch versus a Baneling all-in that almost held, and that was by Snoot on Dusk Towers, so...
Well, I think there is... I don't know the math. It was explained to me a long time ago, but I'm not Zerg, so I didn't care enough to remember it. There are very like mathematical reasons why not only is scouting with a drone inefficient, like as far as your income goes, but something to do with timings on your Overlord Scout to always let you know what you need to deal with. And you bring up, unless you're playing against certain players, and I agree, like 100%. You shouldn't drone scout for all these many reasons, but then you come against somebody like Bly, and you should probably always drone scout.
Yeah, that might be a worthwhile case. Because really, if they're going like super duper all in, like hell, if they're bringing like a drone to Spinecrawler Rush, you know, and you scout that, that's already, it's not quite game over, but it's already like pretty damn good. But yeah, the Overlords, I remember had something to do with it. Now Overlords, of course, they get out faster, which is always, I remember this being such a heated topic by Zergs in the beginning of Legacy of the Void, and that's, you know, they were saying that was the reason that ZvZ sucks at the point, was because, I think Overlords didn't get out fast enough, that's right, but pools could get out faster. That's what the problem was. So they were saying how like, you couldn't scout, and that maybe Overlords need a speed buff. Never happened, and honestly, ZvZ's gonna find enough place as a spectator purely. Hate playing the damn thing, but, I mean, that's for many different reasons that I hate playing ZvZ.
Blizzard didn't give a unit a speed buff? You know why, right?
Well, I think
people
they already
actually wanted it and needed it. But
I think they already did to the Overlord a long time ago. Like in Wings of Liberty.
I would love if just to mess with people, because no one ever gets like refined with their definitions for quests and things like that. They're like, all right, we'll give it a speed buff. We'll speed up its acceleration, but not its movement speed.
Yeah.
So boom, 0 to 5 in 1 second flat.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess it's Cham's thing, I suppose. He didn't do it at Dusk Towers, maybe because it's too long of a map, I don't know, but he did it here. I do remember it being a drone scout in Frozen. But other than that, I think next time is Ruins, and I think he did it out in there too. We'll see. Of course, he is down 1, so maybe he was afraid that Voltz would really power punch type deal.
I don't think he's afraid of anything. He's getting really bold. This guy doesn't afraid of anything while making roaches, because he is going to be all ending off these 2 bases. I think a big part of this for Cham was seeing that third as the signal, like, okay, I can maybe make this work. But Voltz is going to have eventual production on his side, and that's what makes this really interesting, because while Cham is going to initially have a lead in roaches, if Voltz are playing at all to saturate this third, Voltz would be super in trouble. But he sees no third of his opponent. He's sitting here with the Lings. I think he knows that there's some variety of attack. He doesn't know what type coming. Yeah. So he's just making roaches. This is such a good call on his part, because it's not about whether he's making roaches or Lings or bandlings. It's just the fact that he's not making drones that matters the most. Oh, he's going to creep highway this, I think. He's going for a lair?
Oh, yeah,
he
does. I remember that too. Yep. So this can be really powerful. One of the things that Voltz can do besides make pure roaches, and he's trying to sneak in a couple of drones here, might not work out. He can also get on the top of the ramp and try and get a concave right off the bat. But unfortunately, he's just staying at his natural.
The second Voltz started seeing purple on the minimap, more than seeing the blue dots, should have signaled something was coming. Again, they're both on +1. They're both going to be on lots of roaches. There's going to be defender's advantage here for Voltz, but initially the fight's going to go better for Cham. The question is, can Voltz keep this from getting too far out of hand? A fight on the top of the ramp is exactly what he would want to make sure that doesn't happen. But he is going to be fighting against an unfair amount of roaches. Queen's going to come in and help out just a little bit from the backside. Waiting for those reinforcements. It's 14 roaches to 19. Lots more on the way here for Voltz, but not here yet.
Yeah. I don't know. It looks like Cham
I like this micro.
Here. He has a lot more production.
Oh, Cham is so sick. I love every aspect of this game. It's like a completely different player play. He's like woken up, given a slap to that face with that 1-0, and the micro on the roach was fantastic. The Overlord highway setup was even better. Voltz saw this coming and still wasn't ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, he stuck into like 2 drones, but even then, that would not have helped him. Maybe spine crawlers. It looked like he was ready to give up the third with his units being in his natural instead of on that ramp. And I was going to say, that actually seems like a better idea because his roach numbers were that low. Just to hope Cham gave up the third base and tried to push into his natural that was well defended.
So this isn't me, right?
It's hopefully not me.
Okay, well, if we're both feeling it, then it's probably one of the players. It's happened before, but GG does get called, and Cham will tie up the series 1-1. Now, what did you mention? The next map was Ruins?
Yeah.
All right, let me go load that up real quick. All right, boom, got it. So tomorrow I'm really worried about going to the dentist, man. I just want to go to the dentist and have them tell me, you know what? Your teeth are a little bit sore, and you will need your wisdom teeth out, but you don't need them out today. That's all I want to hear. That's all I want to hear going into that consultation.
I'm pretty sure if they say you need it out today, you can be like, no, I'm.
Well, no, but my point is like, well, I'm really glad Stream helped me have the money, so I got this like safety net for the teeth. I can get them out whenever necessary. If I could keep putting it off for longer, it would make me happier because there's so much work to do and so much stuff to do.
We're coming up on a not planned part of the month.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, ideally, mid/end of July would probably be best. If I can at least hold off to that point. Because my original plan, for those who don't know, was to get them out on my birthday, which is early July. But if I can get them out after, I think that'd be better. But game number 3 on Runes of Endion. We'll see you guys soon. Sorry, I was typing to speak of the devil Bly himself. We do have game 3 underway. It's tied up now 1-1, and in the bottom right, it's going out early with this drone, but I don't think this is necessarily for a scout. Maybe it is. It's gonna be Cham.
In the bottom left, as the blue Zerg, he's Voltz.
Now, if this is straight up a scout, this is a silly early drone scout. But the fact that he didn't go straight to pool and looks like he's taking a hatchery means that a spine crawler is out of the question, and this is just an awkwardly early drone scout.
It is. I mean,
He sees the hatchery and goes back home.
I said that I remembered him drone scouting on this map, but...
Oh my gosh, Zombie Grub, even though they both went hatchery first, look at that income difference! That one drone!
128. Actually, seriously, like, 128 minerals is quite a lot.
Well, I think that had more to do with a spike in who made their drones first, but the fact that it's consistently about 60 more for what is almost a minute, it's the cost of an extra drone to scout. Like, this is the wonderful thing about the income graph. We can see the difference between the two players, and that outlines pretty much why drone scouting is not going to be worth it. It'll cost you a worker, technically, and then cost you another one because you can't actually afford it.
Yeah. Two things. I think that on this map, like, there is that possibility of, we saw Scarlet do it, we saw Bly do it. The drone spine crawler into drone pool, more spine crawler rush. So scouting a drone, using a drone to scout that would have been really useful if Voltz was a guy that did that commonly, but, I'm pretty sure he's not. Second of all...
hasn't shown any evidence playing like that at all, yeah.
Yeah. Second, if Cham had then mixed it up and done the build, the one that the drone that turns into a spine crawler, and Voltz is just like, oh, Cham, early drone scouting again, I won't bother checking this, then that would have been a really cool idea. But it was neither. It was just, super awkward early drone scout.
I like the way you phrase it too, like, old Cham's up to it. It's no good shenanigans once again. We'll see what the Clementine boys have to say about it.
Clementine voice?
I don't know. I was trying to think of southern words, man.
Well, the very quick third hatchery makes a lot of sense on this map. I do like that Cham took that, especially after seeing that Voltz was not cheesing. But Voltz, I mean, like, breaking down the rocks is good and all, but they can be broken, Like, you can only depend on them for so long to get a lot of drones with that third base. Voltz goes for his own third.
Small shouts to Terran God Healer joining us in chat. Healer, the cyclones got fixed. Are you gonna show us? Are you gonna show us how to use cyclones, bro? No, I know Nate's particularly happy about it. I like cyclones as well, but I've never been good at macroing behind using them. Give me an Archon mode situation. I'm gonna have a great time. But
we played Archon mode again. I may give you a cyclone. But...
you play StarCraft?
Nah. I know.
If I want to see Zombie go play StarCraft, I'll go watch the CSN training camp.
Oh my god. That came out. That was good. I actually forgot to talk about that. Yeah, so I guess it's been years, okay? Literally years at this point.
I mean, you make it sound like 7. It's like 2.
Yeah, but I still want to say it's literally plural
It's just
years.
more like a year and a half, isn't it?
No, it's 2 years at this point.
Oh, is it 2? Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, so that's why it's so stupid. Second of all, it's been about a year and a half, whatever, since I've just been freely talking about it, since I literally didn't care anymore. Now, in the interest of people that are actually, like, I guess, watching it and interested, I won't spoil it, but if you look back at old VODs, I have talked about everything. I've talked about the spoilers, I've talked about my experience in it.
Did you
sign
an NDA or anything, man? Like, this might not be something to brag about.
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay, then. That's their bad.
No, we literally had this same discussion, like, I don't know,
Well, I just remember that
ago.
they didn't pay you for the longest time, and I was like,
No,
really?
No, they made me sign one that said, like, we get to use
Oh, shoot, you know what? I'm remembering, actually, back to, like, one of the MLGs we went to and seeing it preview up on that main stream. They're like, coming soon!
We only went to one MLG. That
It
was MLG 2014.
Yeah, I guess that was it. Damn.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's been a long time. So anyway, I don't know if I should watch it if you want. It's super old now though. I don't know.
We have our opinions on it. Mine's actually just not even influenced because I didn't care about how well or not Zombie Rev did. Well, everyone's busy going like, oh, I can't. I'm not gonna watch a Winters in it. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch an Axel Tosses in it.
Yeah, I saw all those winter comments. I don't know. I remember being so nervous. Oh, I actually have an attack on the way. Okay, let's talk about the attack.
Okay.
The game, went to 3 bases, but eventually they're gonna try and attack each other. And Voltz is actually the one that is. Well, actually, no. It's actually a lot like last game. He's the one that is defending against Cham's all-in. He has way too many drones potentially, and not enough army.
It's also interesting to see Cham really go heavy with the Lings on this. I mean, I understand they're coming across the map fast and all, but Lings are eventually going to lose out, especially with Banelings out to pop them off. Third base and the drones go down, though. 8 get gutted through this. Lings coming on the backside. He just used 2 of his Banelings. Now he's got no more. It's only Roaches versus Roach Ravager and a full surround of Lings. This does not look like it's going to go well for Voltz. And while he had a spectacular game number 1, something about Cham's got him off in these next follow-up games. Maybe it's the Drone Scout. Maybe it's got magical properties we underestimated.
I guess it's just not. Even if he expects the all-in, like last game on Frozen, that was a really hard one to hold on. This one, I don't even think he realized it was coming until it was too late, because he had 14 more drones than Cham. That's way too over-droned if you know the all-in is on the way.
Yeah, well, that gives him a 2-1 lead now. We're going to go to a small break of just 2 minutes. We'll get back with what is possibly the final. This is a fast series. Possibly the final game when we return. We'll see how this turns out. So a wee bit of awkwardness getting in here to game 4. Voltz actually thought that this was a best of 3. Now, I don't blame him because most tournaments standardly have been doing best of 3s, and we were really the ones who, I will say, pushed the envelope. It's funny, you actually take a look at what's going on, right? BaseTradeTV went from best of 3s to best of 5s. Everyone else went from best of 3s to best of 1s in Korea.
but like a billion best of 1s.
I know. I actually find their format really interesting, and I almost want to try something with it. But my point is, this guy obviously didn't read the team look with thread, which is a bit unfortunate, but he's still alive, so that's good news for him.
But he definitely, like, there was no confusion when they vetoed, though, so he definitely just forgot within the span of 30 minutes.
That's actually a great point. Well, either way, game number 4 afoot. It's spawning upper left, but not entirely, as he leaves the drone out of his base. It's going to be the blue Zerg Cham.
In the bottom right, is the red Zerg. He's Voltz.
So what's going to be a little bit interesting here is how do you really come back from that? Like, it's a silly thing to talk about, sure, certainly, but to think you've lost, everyone knows that feeling. You've lost this series, you're just like, okay, I'm done. Like, it's an instant thing too. It's not like you stew over 5 minutes. So now it's like, oh great, he's either going to be super pumped that he's revitalized, or he's already in that mindset of like, well.
It's a good question. I have, like, the closest experience I had was, like, waiting for the results for throwing discus, but that's, like honestly, like 4 hours waiting.
What? Did you just admit to throwing discus? I'm gonna send you to Kespa jail. You'll be right next to life.
Oh, throwing. Okay, anyway. But like that was the results of, like, I don't know, like an hour. You would have to wait for the results to come in if there was, like, a really close tie or something like that. I don't know what the feeling would be like within a minute, realizing, like, oh my god, I actually have another game to play. Because by that time, an hour, I'm actually really glad I get to go back, right? But I don't know, within a minute, I might have still been, like, in the losing mindset. Oh well. King Sejong is a fun little map for ZvZ, not just because the overlords get to each other's naturals so quickly, as we saw, and they're already bouncing away from them, but because the back rocks used to provide, a really cool all-in opportunity, where you actually, like, you would have overlords never back there scouting for lings, but you would have them on the other side. You never see them on the other side, you never prepare for the all-in, it's almost a free win. So I really like that Cham, his overlord's going back there. Like, this is not going to be a free win for Voltz.
Still clever nonetheless to have this door open, just have that pathway. This may hurt him a little bit later when he's busy dealing with, like, an all-in from Cham, who has consistently thrown all-ins at him, but this time around, There's melee weapons on the way. If this is going to be an all-in, it'll be from Lings, and from that regard, Banelings and a little bit of luck and a little bit of skill can really win you a game, even if you're one without the upgrades.
Yeah, Cham. We've seen this before, where the melee player still ends up winning just because the Baneling hits don't seem to be very good from the Baneling player, but that's usually asking a lot. Voltz, he makes like 6 Banelings, and Cham won't ever be able to get near his Lings. And that would be a problem. And Cham recognizes the situation, and of course, there's no secret to this. Voltz didn't have to break on those rocks anymore, but he did. And Cham's been prepping for a while, but speed still isn't done, much less the +1, so his Link just gets surrounded. But I guess he has enough with the Queens. The Banelings are now on the way.
This is not so bad for Voltz. The Banelings are a lot of extra power. The Spine Crawlers still aren't done, but even if they are, they're close enough. The splash damage should split between them. Not as neatly as I thought it would be, but still goes off nonetheless. Spines being down, +1 weapons upgrade. Again, a huge advantage for Cham when it comes to one-on-one link fights. But these Banelings live for hits. Jesus. Drones are stacked. Gets a little bit messy. 6 go down, but still not enough. Still not enough.
Cham still has 2 more drones here. Now, he still doesn't have Banelings, but he has +1, so any Ling attacks, he'll obviously win them. Voltz needs a little bit of time to actually make those Banelings, give him that edge back, and he's actually retreating. So, not getting that time, but having the numbers potentially, no, +1's pretty good.
No, +1 is very good. Plus the surround. I have spent, by the way, about every 30 seconds tabbing out to type 1 or 2 words to shitpost to you on Twitter, which is finally complete.
Hold on.
So, just letting you know. I'm proud, because I didn't think I'd be able to get it all in.
Wow, rude. It's always so awkward, like, to try and fit any questions in there without being awkward.
It's awkward trying to fit my own. It's awkward trying to fit it in there, man. Like, you never know if it's tight
that's
fit
weird.
or...
That's weird. I have been a fantastic guest on talk shows.
Yeah, you remember that one time you made fun of Avillo and caused a bunch of Reddit hate for...
I would actually blame the fact that I was a talk show with you on that.
Okay, that's actually a very fair point. I won't even contest that. +1 Carapace finishing up in a moment for Cham, but I mean, well, this, for like a brief moment, looked like Voltz was going to run away with the game. Cham has really brought this back. Not enough workers were killed in that first attack. Now he's losing even more on his side of the field. Voltz struggling to defend. But the worst part of this is really that +1 Carapace. His one saving grace at the moment is that one Baneling hit can kill infinite amount of Lings, right? However, with that Carapace upgrade, that's not going to be the case anymore. And he's losing out all these little scuffles here, and they're just bleeding out 5 Lings, 10 Lings here. Adds up to 20 or 30 very quickly. 72 Lings have died in total so far.
This is a game that is slowly just spiraling down for Voltz. I mean, it was a cool idea. I love that all-in.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
It was scouted very early. It just, you know, it was no longer the surprise factor that you would want. Still could have been done something, maybe a bit better control on his Banelings, not wasteful, you know, something like that, but it didn't happen.
It was a good choice for the map. It was a great choice. I mean, he was going for the sneak attack version, right? The rocks being broken down and all that. It's a good choice for the map, but also just, again, we question that mentality of, like, where is he at? And I like that he came out fighting. It's just unfortunate it didn't quite work out for him. GG gets called. It looks like Cham will move on to the winners match. And Voltz will lose and move on to the losers. Lucky for him, though, he's going to possibly have his pick. I think it's safe to assume Neeb beats Major. Not just because Neeb 4-0'd Beyond, and Neeb is a god amongst Protoss right now, but... again, it just favor goes to him. But maybe Major surprises us. I don't know. Either way, we'll be back after a small word from our sponsors. For those who don't know what TING is, by the way, I should probably shout them out correctly before we go to this break. Because the first thing to note is they are a service only available in the United States. As a Canadian, that really bums me out. But that being said, their services are great, and as a Canadian touring in America, using their SIM card saved me a ton of money when we were in DreamHack Austin, and more importantly, Houston and such for the week leading into it. So you can get their SIM cards from like most general stores. You can set up on the website. It's really easy. It took me like 5 minutes to do. And it's definitely, again, even if you're not from America, but you plan to go to America, it's worth learning more about Ting. So go to bttv.ting.com. You get $25 in credit, and that can be applied to anything. Their store, phone bill, trying out their services. If you already have Ting, you can retroactively apply it by simply contacting Ting Jesse when you see him in chat. He's been really cool and really chill about helping people get that stuff set up. They also have some cool announcements, and we're trying to talk to them about doing giveaways again this season as well. So, again, this tournament, $5,000, all made possible thanks to Ting. So, without further ado, a word from our sponsors, and we'll see you guys in a bit.